The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack in will. Vince Lombardi. And Coach Lombardi sure understood what it took to be a winner. And I love that. It is will. And if you are willing to spend 10 to 15 minutes a day, every day, charting this market, doing your practice trading, filling out your trade worksheets, daily market worksheets, and of course today on Friday, that's when we fill out our weekly market worksheet to look at what happened over the last week and to prepare for the coming week. 10 to 15 minutes a day, my friends, that's all it takes. And to do practice trades when they make themselves available and to learn the nuances of the marketplace. This is not rocket science. It is charting, and you can do it. Some of the best traders I know have the least amount of formal education. Why? Because they have stick-to-itness. They have that willpower that Coach Lombardi talks about. Let's jump into these charts. We see the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100 up, down some in the morning, and then popped up stronger and stronger in the afternoon. Look at bonds. Bonds are just flat for the day. Gold down, which is beautiful because we have that down move going in gold. Let's first talk about the S&P 500. It did manage, even with the up moves for the day, 1.60%, to still be a weekly vertical crossover. I'm going to give you some things to think about with this. Did you have to enter it right now? No, you did not. You can, of course, hold off. You don't have to do anything, but it's wonderful to practice everything. Now, we're going to make sure we rotate our arrow over, which we have done. We have now initiated a weekly vertical crossover. Derivative oscillator's gone negative. Price percent oscillator heading down. Gone through the third week of down movement after weeks and weeks and weeks of up movement. We did have an area where it sort of slid sideways, never crossed over though. Remember, the market rotated back over, going up all the way back on the 5th or the 8th of May. But for a short period during the month of June where it slid sideways, it took off again in July and all the way up until the beginning of September. And then for these last 3 weeks heading down. So we do have a weekly vertical crossover in effect. We sent that text message out to everyone who wants to participate in our texting service. And again, to get involved in that, you need to be in the United States. It doesn't work internationally. Sorry, friends overseas. But you text the number 33222, the word charting wealth. That's our name, charting wealth. What do we see on the 2-day chart? Let's go to that. This is the first day of the latest 2-day candle. And what we see here is a down candle. Let me move the... Now we see that we didn't reach a lower low as per the prior 2-day candle. Price percent oscillator also lost some of its downward momentum. Derivative oscillator did too. We go to the half-day chart, and what do we see there? We see at the end of the day where things crossed over going up. Now you say, wait a minute, Tom, what am I supposed to do when there's a big up day on Friday and there's a weekly vertical crossover going down? Well, you have one of two things you can do based upon your experience with the chart that you're using. And again, you're practice trading, so some of you may just now be getting experience with that chart. What you would do is potentially go ahead and go into that move anyway, or if you're not familiar with it and you're not quite sure what to do, then of course one thing you can do is, since you've seen the half-day chart crossover going up, you can hold off until it starts to level out and go back down. But what have we seen, those of us who've traded the S&P time and time again, is that weekly vertical crossover, in fact, every one we've had up or down this year has worked for us. That's our experience. How many years have you been trading the S&P 500? What do you know? What have you noted in your notes? What have you learned? What have you put in your Trader's Almanac, which is a collection of your daily market worksheet, weekly market worksheets, and most importantly, your trade worksheets? Do you know? Is it effective to wait on the 4-hour or half-day chart, rather, to cross back over going down for a jumping in point when you have an anomaly like this occur? You will have seen it in the past if you'd been trading the S&P for a while. What did you do in the past and what worked? Again, That is why we tell you 10 to 15 minutes a day to learn the nuances. If you don't do that day in and day out, you know what you are? You're a tourist. You're not serious. So again, we want you to be serious and learn these. So those of you who jumped in, great. See what there is to learn from that. Those of you who did not and are waiting to start your practice trade, learn from holding off. Does it work for you? So again, we'll continue to watch this and see how things progress. But we did have that weekly vertical crossover at the end of the day. It slacked off. It was much stronger before Friday because of the up move, but again, still heading down. That's where we are on the S&P. Let's go to the Qs. The Qs had a weekly vertical crossover last Friday, the 18th. And of course, this week has been a down week. Some of you cashed out when we hit the lows, and that is fine. What do we see going on with the derivative oscillator? Still heading down. Price percent oscillator moving down, slacked off a little bit in that downward momentum. You can see that more in the 2-day chart. Derivative oscillator's been losing momentum since it peaked back on Friday of last week. And what do we see? Well, we hit a lower low, of course, on the Monday-Tuesday 2-day candle. The price percent oscillator, like we said, is losing a little bit of that momentum. We had a green spinning top previously. That was representing Wednesday and Thursday. It's a slowdown in that down movement. Remember, we didn't hit a lower low, and what we have forming now is a doji right there on the weekly trend line. So we'll continue to watch. Let's look at the half-day chart. It had been laminated. Of course, the action today had some indecision in the morning and then popped up in the afternoon right up to that 2-day trend line below the weekly. So we'll continue to watch, see what there is to see and learn. Remember, the weekly vertical crossover is still in effect. 2-day still heading down. So that gives us faith this move will continue. Now, let's keep moving. We talked about bonds. Bonds are flat. What does this portend potentially? Well, we've seen how bonds were down for 4 weeks strong. Then they leveled out and they've slowly been trying to move up. Ended this week with a green open box spinning top. I believe that's an open box. Yes, it is. Well, it's a spinning top. It had both a wick on the bottom and the top, about the same size as the candle itself. So we do see the price percent oscillator flattening, derivative oscillator losing downward momentum for the first time in a while. So again, are bonds trying to sort out which way the market's going to go and creeping ever upwards, getting ready to blast off? Maybe. We'll wait and see what the weekly does for us when everything continues to come through, when we have more data. We see that 2-day, of course, has crossed over, and somehow I accidentally transferred that. That 2-day crossover occurred back on Thursday, yesterday, the 24th. That represented Wednesday and Thursday. So maybe this will continue and it will pull the weekly over, and we'll have a weekly vertical crossover in some time in the future. We look at the half-day chart. It's continuing to move up slower, up in the morning, and then burn some of that off to be flat in the afternoon, up 0.00 for the day. So we'll continue to watch. Let bonds lead us in the direction they are going to go. And of course, if bonds really start to climb, that means, of course, money's leaving the stock market typically and going into bonds. They typically move inversely. We like to see that. We don't like to see everything going in one direction or another. We'd like them to be converse. That is, bonds going up and stocks going down, or stocks going up and bonds going down. Now, lastly, we go to gold. What do we see happening in gold? We had that weekly vertical crossover on gold, a bunch of that happening lately, back on September the 11th. What did gold do the following week? It went up. What did it do this week? It went down, and down strong, which is nice to see. Down again today, 0.28%. What was our jumping in point on gold? Somewhere around the 181.50 mark or so. What is the low that it's plumbed so far? 173.77. That's pretty nice. Again, about the time everybody told you to start buying gold is going to go to 15,000. Wow, it rolled over and went down. Isn't that fascinating? You mean it didn't do what everybody on the news told you it would do? And if you could read a stock chart, you'd have known what to do? Is that amazing or what? Again, Don't watch the news. Watch the charts. We have a big red down candle, derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum, price percent oscillator heading down on the weekly chart. 2-day chart, we see 5 strong candles going down. This latest candle didn't hit the low the prior did, but the derivative oscillator heading down, price percent oscillator heading down at a nice angle. Go to the half-day chart. We can sort of see where things are flat. However, price percent oscillator still going down a little bit. Derivative oscillator negative, but losing downward momentum. So we'll continue to watch and see how low will gold go. At some point, of course, it will turn around. And when that happens, we'll tell you about that too. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters. Don't forget to take the special training we have today in your show notes. The trend is the key. If you want to always get all the trainings we do, what do? You go to chartingwealth.com, put in your name, email address. That list is never spammed or sold to get our trainings every day. Plus our daily market worksheet, trade worksheet, and weekly market worksheet. And I'm going to put at the end of today's video all 3 of the trainings on how to use those worksheets. If you want to supercharge your training and learn as quickly as possible, besides buying our book, fill out those trade worksheets every day. They're free and in your show notes. They're PDFs. You can print them out. God bless, my friends. All the best, again, from the whole team here.